Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pokemon Power Podcast Plus, is what I'm going to call it, I guess, which is a little extra video that we're doing. Our guest, Brandon James Greer, was kind enough to stick around and do an extra video with us. Brandon, you are a pixel artist, a pixel professional, and you are you're kind of a person that, at the very least, you out of our 9 episodes we've done so far, you definitely know the most about pixels. Yeah. And what we'd like to do is we talked about Squirtle in the episode that we recorded. As we'd like to bring up a sprite sheet. You tell me if I'm even using the terminology correct. I made some little sprites. I didn't make them. I don't know. I edited them.
You sourced them.
You stole them. I sourced them. I totally sourced them.
You stole them is the technical term.
Yeah.
We'll find out how illegal that is once this episode comes out. But I wanted to kind of look through the Squirtle sprites and see what we like about them, see what they're doing, and kind of go from there.
Yeah. So every episode I learn from Alex's expertise about Pokemon. What we want to learn is from your expertise, knowing everything about pixels, what's good, what's right, what's wrong. Yeah. And I know you don't want to say what's wrong, but you know, really, that's what everyone's tuning in for. They want to hear the hot takes.
The hot takes. You guys are not going to believe what they did with these squares on this little baby turtle.
Oh, yeah. I mean, our title for this is going to be all caps. And just, you will not believe. Pixel Artist destroys Nintendo.
Not clickbait.
Yeah.
I brought up on the screen, we have, this is Squirtle Sprite as a silhouette from the original Red and Blue. And you can kind of see a bit here. There's one very odd part on the upper left-hand corner of his head, which my guess is that they just knew that was going to be transparent. It's going to be the same color as the background, so they just didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, that was probably like some reflective shine on his head, right?
Right. But as a whole, I guess, how well do you think this works as like a pose? Because that's all we're kind of viewing when we see the silhouette as the pose. How legible is this?
Yeah, I think this is great. I mean, this works as like your classic who's that Pokemon, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I like a lot the tail, which is really prominent. I mean, if you had to look at this and you didn't know what you're looking at, and you could tell it's kind of a person, just I mean, it's a little blobbish, but this part over here really accentuates the tail over here really accentuates something different.
Yeah. And I like you've got still his arm and then 2 of his feet as well. So they're not like his arm and his foot on the left side of the sprite there are separated by 1 pixel. If they were pushed together, that would just be
it would read much
a
worse.
blob of a silhouette. Yeah.
Right. Zach, what do you think? You're the pixel amateur, I guess.
I'm the everything amateur.
We're both
I'm the
not
expert
pixel
in
professionals. Okay, what do you think?
I mean, now that I've heard from the expert that it's great, I know that I'm supposed to think that it's great. Because at first, I did just think it was a blob.
Sure.
But now that I know that I'm not supposed to think that, I won't think it.
Do you ever watch Great British Bake Off?
Yes.
You ever watch that, Brandon?
No, I haven't seen it, but I think is that the one where the guys like oh, I started baking, had a breakdown, bon appetit.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I know.
That. But the thing that I watched that show with my wife, and you'll see someone present a cake to the judges, and my wife and I'll just be like, "That cake looks delicious," and the judges are like, "This looks terrible." We're like, "Bad cake, bad cake." As soon as the judge tells us it's bad. But okay, yeah, let's see this thing with color. This is with the Game Boy colors. Actually, the Game Boy colors that Brandon yourself recommended in your Pokemon.
Are these mine? These are my color values.
I took this. I tried to make them. If I'm off ever so slightly, that's a mistake.
Oh wow, cool.
So we can now see the Squirtle. See his face a little bit here. We see a very prominent smile. We have like the shell, which is, or kind of, I guess, the tummy of the shell, which is kind of split up by some sprites here, which gets some, what would you call this, dithering? What's the word here?
I would more refer to that, like maybe it's like sort of colored line work.
Okay.
You could see like the darker green is sort of part of what the black line work would have been anyway, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's like a way of shading the line work.
And it's almost like I'm pointing as if the viewer can see his point on the screen. But his stomach's the brightest, and then kind of as you get to darker areas on his body, it gets darker with the pixels and the pixels that kind of make the lines on his stomach.
Yeah. So yeah, to me, when I look at this, like the main color of the tummy is like the white and then the lighter green. And then the line work is like the black and the darker green.
Yeah.
For parts of that, yeah.
All right, Zach, you see this thing on your screen as a young boy. Does this read as a cool turtle to you as a child? What do you think? This is the green of the Pokemon screen. Of the
It for
Game Boy
sure reads as a baby.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
Very simple eyes and smile. Yeah.
I think
nose.
like the stance of it is like
having fun.
I'm on one foot. I'm cute.
Yeah.
And I think I see why I didn't pick it as a kid, because I'm just like, I don't want a baby. All right, I'm a grown.
What if he had the Gurren Lagann glasses?
Yeah, but if he had those edit glasses, the sprite. Yes, the black angles.
I almost drew in the sunglasses as like a little extra. I was like, and here's my version. Just looking cooler.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like the original, like that, whatever that meme was, where it was like the person would stand and do something like really cool or whatever. And it has like the thug life glasses.
Yeah. The deal with it. Yeah.
Like that was like, he did it first.
Yeah.
His glasses.
Yeah. The squad life. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Squad life. I actually, the one thing I do like a lot about the line work here is the tail that you can see kind of the spiraled tail here. With such a small amount of space, you're able to convey that. I think that works really well.
Yeah, and so that's where like bringing in the different colors really helps, because if you just were to have to do that with all one color, like, you might not get the correct rounding to it.
Sure.
So that's why we tend to see parts on the line work there where it goes from black to like the darker green.
Yeah. Well, let's see what he looks
1
like.
1 out of 10. Is this a good job, Brandon? 1 out of 10.
I think all these original sprites are great, especially when you consider like the space that they had to work with.
Yes.
And the fact that there had to be enough space left over for all the HUD elements of like doing the actual battle commands and the animations.
Yeah. All right. I want to bring up the colored version. This is what he would look like. I believe if you put him in the Game Boy Color. I don't think he looks this way if you put him in a Super Game Boy. I think he comes off actually kind of red. But this is with the color. No one's going to just be listening. We're just going to put this up on YouTube. But very blue. The 3 colors outside of the black that we see here are blue, like a dark blue, a light blue, and then kind of, I would just say that's white. But yeah. I think I like that it definitely reads a personality, it reads an overall color. Obviously, we're not seeing the brown of his shell or anything like that, but I think overall reads really, really nice.
Yeah, I always like that with like, so I didn't have a Game Boy Color, but I played on the Super Game Boy.
Sure.
And I like the default like sort of palette swaps that it does. It just is enough to add a little bit more personality to it. So if you have like a water type Pokemon and they're just all blue compared to like, the other colors, it helps.
Zach, any thoughts from you? You're deep in thought.
I'm just thinking, when am I going to get to the one that I really want to look at that's got all the colors? So
okay,
have you done an edit on this one? You could just go in and drop in the correct colors.
And just give me all the rest of my colors, please.
I will say, because I'll show you, because we're still working with the way they end up doing the Game Boy Color, the Gold and Silver games. He still is basically, he's made out of 4 colors still, and we'll talk about why in just a moment. This is the gold and silver silhouette. I think everything here is a step up from the previous one.
I don't know. He took the cuteness for the 1 foot was kind of like, I'm a cute baby.
He's not dancing
like
anymore.
An old man.
Yeah,
like
I like the little step out that he had. Yeah, before. This one is interesting to me. I'm curious what's going on in his face. It looks like it's a really heavy brow or something, and then that's his mouth. I don't know what that is quite yet. So yeah, and then his hand kind of looks like it's doing this, which is pretty cool. But
I guess I like the shell a lot. I do think this little part right here is a little weird, where there's 1 pixel that feels like it should be there and it's not. But the tail, I think, reads pretty clearly still. I like his 2 little, like these, I think read very clearly as feet right down here.
It's a stronger standing stance than the other one where he was kind of like kicking, playfully.
No, so there's definitely some pros and cons to both. Yeah. But let's bring him up. This is him with the Game Boy colors on him.
Oh yeah, okay.
I think it's interesting because I think a lot of it's clear. Like you were talking about, if there's one line, we actually do end up getting 1 line for the tail here.
Yeah.
But it's kind of off-centered, and I think they accomplished that by showing, it's actually going into the background as we go from 2 pixel spacing to 1 pixel spacing.
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely like it's completely like solid look.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of intermixing of the colors here, so
This is the one thing that was made up the weird part of his shell. He has a hand out, and when you're looking at just the silhouette, that hand doesn't show at all.
Oh, yeah. So those were his claws or something, I guess, right?
Yes, yes.
Or nails, yeah. Interesting.
Zach, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this guy?
He definitely marked this one down with the tone of his voice. So I think that he said that this was at least an 8. I
will say one thing I like better on this one for sure is the smile. It has so much character to it. Like it has a little part that goes up. It almost has like a walrus kind of shape for a mouth, which you can't see before. It just looks. I feel like the face emotes very well in a way where the other one is. I think Zach, you said he reads real clearly as a baby. And I think because his emotion is pretty just kind of plain but happy in the Game Boy and the red and blue sprite, while this one's a little more. He has an angry eyebrow, maybe has a little bit of intensity to him.
Yeah. He kind of, for some reason, I mean, he always does kind of look like Charmander a little bit, but I'm getting that a little bit more with this one than with the original Game Boy sprite.
Yeah.
A bit of a Charmander face.
Mm-hmm. I think
and
lot
that's
of
okay.
that,
I mean, they share a lot of similarity there, but
Charmander's cool. I don't have no problem with Charmander. Zach's a big Charmander fan.
I am.
I don't want to say too much.
I actually like his arms in this one though. That does have the baby vibe of like the little baby, like hold me. That's what I kind of get from this. So sure. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Well, Zach, you said you wanted the one, and let's see him with the colors. And I actually like this color palette a lot. Now, here's the thing to say about these red and blue color palettes for the gold and silver color palettes and this is something that I could also see showing up on Apology Time if I have this wrong. I looked at a Reddit thread for a very long time to try and understand this. Pokemon, on the Game Boy Color, you could have tons of colors on the screen at the same time, just kind of because of tricks. I think I was reading that you could have like up to 56 or something like that. But that's not really the case with this. In gold and silver, I'm having like a complete brain fart here. In gold and silver, they could only have 10 colors on the screen at any time. So basically the way it was broken down was this white that's on the Squirtle here. That white was on every single Pokemon and kind of functioned as the lighting for them. And then they had 3 colors that filled out everything else. It wasn't necessarily this black. And then, or at least I don't remember it always being the black. And then the other colors was the 3 colors from the other Pokemon because that white was the same. And then there was a black for the life bar and then the colors filling up the life bar. So that altogether comes to like 10 exactly on the screen at all times. But we're seeing Squirtle here. I like that he has the brown shell, but because everything's pretty limited with the black, there's not any shading or anything on him. He looks pretty flat outside of the white kind of making up the light.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting to like take that and then do like a remastered shaded version on top of it just for fun, right?
If only a popular YouTube pixel artist. Only we knew one.
If somebody could go out there and make a video of that, that would be fantastic.
Zach, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think the only way that I would like it is if Brandon redid it. Just because after what I've learned from watching the extensive movie videos from him, shading changes a lot, when you have like the simple shading and then you can have it. I mean, I think that this poor little Squirtle, he needs some help.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I'd love to see like, a richer blue in there for the shadow.
Sure.
And then also like a pink or a red for the tongue, just for like that pop of color in it. Yeah. But obviously we're talking about hardware limitations too. So we can't remember. How come you guys didn't invent more than you were allowed to? Yeah.
You guys really should have invented a better Game Boy before you started making these games for it.
But see, that's the thing. Like once you learn about the limitations, like it's nicer to appreciate sort of the charm that they do have with what they were able to work with, right?
Yeah. With only using 3 colors, it made it clear what you're supposed to see. Right?
I think just working within its limitations, which is a big part of pixel art as a whole, just that it makes it ultimately have, I think, some character to it that without those limitations it could have more, but it's charming in its own right. Let's bring up the silhouette, and this is from Ruby Sapphire / also in I think this is the Ruby Sapphire pixel or sprite to be exact. It may be the one from Fire Red, Leaf Green. I can't remember, but ultimately, this is a Squirtle from the Game Boy Advance, and I think it reads pretty well.
They definitely went a lot of tail on this one, huh?
Huge tail, yeah. They increased that tail size.
And I can't really tell, like I guess, is he facing off to the left still?
Yeah, it looks like he's facing to the left, although his body is faced right, and we'll confirm that as soon as we pull up the colors.
We'll see that, yeah. What's interesting now on the silhouette is like the little space between the tail and the body. There's like 2 pixels on that line. I think there could be room for an extra one, but I don't know what that is yet. Maybe that's like sort of the partial view of his hand or the edge of the shell. I don't know. So.
Yeah, I think the thing that's interesting when you look at these ones from the Game Boy Advance is, you're getting a little more. I believe his size is ultimately larger, pixel-wise. I didn't measure these out. That would have been another nice thing to do, and maybe I'll do in the future. But he is a little bit larger, seemingly, which I think to some extent accentuates the parts where he still seems very low pixel. So, like, his foot right here just seems like, oh, wow, like, that's so non-detailed. But maybe we'll get into it, and the colors will really make that pop.
Yeah. The silhouette's just one part of it, so.
Yeah. All right, well, let's check out. And I just have the full color here. But I brought them up. Wow. And there we go.
Yeah.
I think this reads lovely. I think this looks excellent.
Yeah, I like the colors. So, yeah, that part where it looked weird on between the tail and the body, that was like his little finger there, sort of.
Oh, sure. Yeah, he's got his pinky out. Yeah.
So that actually makes a lot of sense, because if that was just flush with the edge of the shell, it would probably just be really flat, but you can kind of get a little bit of dimension on the hand that way.
Yeah. So I kind of broke them down by 2 sets of colors. We kind of have a brown going all the way to a light yellow, and then just a couple shades of blue. I would even maybe kind of more towards a teal, because you can sense some greenness in it, especially in this color right here. Yeah. And then, of course, just black, gray, white. There's like 2 gray pixels right here, which I thought was really interesting. And I just kept thinking about you, Brandon, because you talk a lot about getting your value for these different colors. And I thought, this kind of off-white and that gray aren't too different. I almost thought about recoloring that and seeing if that's still red or if that wouldn't read anymore.
I'm sure you could go white on those too, maybe. I think it's the continuation of that bordering on his shell, right? So the fact that you have a little bit of that down there too just kind of completes what you can imagine the edge of the shell to be.
Sure.
It's interesting how many like of the beigey, orange, yellow gradient there is. That seems like more than would be necessary. Maybe.
I know.
But, yeah. Like I think there's a few there that you could probably collapse 3 of those down into one color and get a similar readability, I would guess. But
I was thinking about because I thought the same thing. I was like, wow, there's a lot of different. I really think the sprite comes alive. So I'm really just criticizing it from a point of like there is a niceness to having that. Having them consolidated, making it look as full as it can with a limited number of colors. But I almost wonder. I think about the Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, and in that one, which is the Super Nintendo Zelda game. And on that one, Link's final sprite in that game, he's like wearing like, I think his like tunic's like purple and like his hair is a different color. And
his hair is purple.
His hair is purple.
Like in the main sprite, his hair's purple.
But I almost feel like whenever I look at that game's great. I'm not going to criticize the game, but I do think the sprites I always think to myself when I see it, like Nintendo is just like, look at how colorful we can make them. Isn't that cool? Rather than like, let's make the most tonally consistent. I actually think the pixel for Link's Awakening, which is very similar, ends up I think looking better than the one in A Link to the Past for that reason.
Right. Yeah. See, I think like the bluey teal gradient is a good example of like maybe the perfect balance of that restriction.
Yeah.
Because it mainly uses like only 3 of them, and then you just have the bright teal as like the highlight.
Yeah. That definitely works as the lighting, and you see it on his left side, and then just on a couple spots on the right, which is just like the light kind of breaking through there.
Just so we can be clear, though, Brandon has been the most negative so far on this one, and he said slightly too many browns. So I don't know if that needs to go into any final ratings, but my question is, I like that teal color, but if you compare it with like in my mind Squirtle or on Brandon's t-shirt Squirtle.
Yeah, he's very blue, yeah.
It's like very blue, and I wonder why they wanted to make him more that kind of tealish greenish.
You know what? It was the anime. They showed a more complex Squirtle there, and they're like, we can't just leave him plain blue. We got to add some complexity to the character of this complex Pokemon.
Well, yeah, it's definitely more. He looks more like a real turtle almost. It's like they're going for more like real turtle in the sprite here, as opposed to like in the anime it was more like their primary color kind of looking things. I don't know.
I will say that. Sorry, you go.
Oh, I was just saying too, with like when you're using like something that's more teal versus blue, when you go towards blue, it tends to get darker, even though it's a different color. Like it just is naturally more of a darker color. So if you wanted to offset that and make it a brighter blue, you'd have to desaturate it. So it wouldn't look as like strong of a pop. So you can get more saturation out of a teal and still have it be light, whereas like a really saturated blue would be a very dark color.
Sure.
That might be a reason. I don't know. I think the like harmony of the colors works really well too here. So
yeah.
And once again, we're very pro Pokemon artists, so we're not criticizing from the point of we're the experts. No,
it's more just about learning and just seeing what you think about it and bringing those ideas into your own art.
Yeah.
It's another case where it'd be interesting if somebody could just maybe change the colors around a little bit, just so we could see like what.
If somebody could do that. But I think you've made it clear, even with like the first one, like the limitation of the technology of not having those colors and like working the best as they could with just like the blues and that kind of thing. But especially with this one, I wonder like if you tried to make it more the anime blue, it just wouldn't read as well at all. Like it would just look really, really too dark or something.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. But there's a bit of room to find somewhere between those two as well. So, or you could also bring some stronger hue shifting into it, right? Where you have like the lighter part of the skin tone gradient is the teal, and then rather than stepping down to a darker teal, it steps down to more of a blue, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
man. If only someone could do that, that'd be so
cool. Somebody. I have these ideas, but I have no way to execute them. So.
The one thing I want to mention I like about this is kind of that continuing evolution of the mouth. It kind of had a straight smile like you would have on like a child's like doodle on the first game. And the second one, they have a little bit more of a walrus mouth as it kind of has parts that go up. And then here it's very rounded. You see the beginning of the smile droops down. And even though you don't see the mouth continue, you kind of see this, I guess would be what's the word? A dimple almost right here. On that side, it's a great face. It really reads by itself. I think you could put that, and people would still know without the shell or the curly tail. That's a Squirtle face. Yeah,
it is really nice, and I like the way the tail looks. Like it's nice, like how prominent it is compared to the other sprites. The other ones, it was just sort of tucked behind. This one, it's really like at the forefront as a main feature, and then his hand too, like the light pixels on his fingers, just kind of giving some prominence there as well. I like that.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on these?
I think
it's a nice evolution. Yeah.
Nice evolution. You like the arms, you said, Brandon?
No, I was actually saying that I like the arms on the one before this, like the little baby arms up. Because I'm just like, look at how cute that little guy is. Yeah, right there. Look at those.
Very cute.
His little fingers.
I really do feel like he's growing up in these pictures.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny actually going back to the first one now that we've gone through the whole journey.
Yeah. Well,
I think it'd be nice to see, like, to take this sort of style of rendering and apply it to the other ones too, or kind of mix and match their rendering styles.
Oh, sure.
Way,
Well, once again, something we have no power to do.
Yeah. We can dream. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us for this little extra bit here, Brandon James Greer.
Thank you. Cool.
I'm realizing I left up the entire time during this my sign that says I was wrong and that Brian was right. Once again, sperm whales are not the largest mammal. That's a blue whale. Brian knew that. I did not know that. Well, these are very fun. If you would like to make your own sprites, I want to say this, and I learned this from Brandon James Greer. If you'd like to make your own sprites, your own pixel art, and you don't have the means to do so, you can go to piskelapp.com, I believe is the website, which is where I made these. And any recommendation from yourself, Brandon, on people are interested in getting into pixel art?
In terms of software, or
yeah.
He has a whole video on it.
He does have. I know. I'm stealing views away from your other video where you describe this.
The online tools are great if you don't want like the commitment of picking out either a free program or one that you have to pay for, of course.
Yeah.
The one I see most people using is Sprite. That is a paid program though. I think it's about $20 US. So if you want to take the plunge and do that, that's a really fantastic program. Like that'll let you do animation and everything. But if you just want to dip your toe in, certainly a site like Pixel, or I think another one that a lot of people use is called Pixel Art, Pixil.
Oh, okay.
Is another good free one.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We like doing the pixel analysis, and maybe Zach and I, after we learn some more, maybe we'll try and do this and see if we can bring any real critique or criticism on our own without a professional. Like
kind of a neat segment idea, I think. Yeah. Well, yeah, it certainly appeals to me. So,
well, we'd like to say if you tuned in for this, thank you so much for checking this out. We appreciate you. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. But as always, if you were a Pokemon, if you were a Squirtle, or any other Pokemon for that matter, we'd choose you. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a good week.